In this day and age, is it really allowed anymore to create a new isekai anime that allows itself to breathe and pace itself instead of rushing to the finish line in what feels like 10 seconds flat? Well boy, do I have good news for you, because Hell Mode, the hardcore gamer dominates in another world with garbage balancing, actually gives us an entire season of build-up and prologue, which to me is nothing short of a miracle in the 2026 anime isekai environment. It's not all sunshine and rainbows though, sadly, as one particular element in the anime, an important one at that, does suffer greatly over the course of Season 1, and in turn does drag the anime down from the heights it could have otherwise reached. But we will not dive into that just yet, because we happily have many positive things to mention before we get there. And don't you worry, I will, as always, try to keep the review as spoiler-free as possible. This anime might seem slow at first. It definitely did to me. It probably took me an entire arc, the first 3 episodes or so, before I really started to get into it and get invested in the trials and tribulations of our main character, Alan. He is a hardcore gamer at heart and was isekai into this new world on Hell Mode, choosing the most insanely difficult role he could, as that is simply the kind of gamer he is. We spend most of the first half of the season slowly building out what our main character, Alan, can do, and familiarizing ourselves with the world through his eyes. Another point of praise I would like to give at this point to the anime is how much time they do spend on his immediate family, and how relevant, especially his father, is to the story as a whole in the first part of the season. On top of this, they do spend a good amount of time simply giving us time with Alan and his family, helping us connect with them decently well, and start to root for and care for them as well. The summoner setting in itself is nothing overly unique in isekai, as it has been attempted multiple times before. This might very well be the first isekai anime of this kind to really make a summoner system that, to me, is interesting and detailed, and having a good measurable growth as the season chugs along. Another point of praise I feel I must make is how this anime handles its narrative progression as a whole. Far too often, especially in isekai, we end up with extremely contrived or otherwise dumbed down developments that feel like they have no basis in reality or common sense, and things just happen because the creators wanted them to. In Hell Mode, on the other hand, I was surprised by how often events and simple comments actually pushed the narrative forward in natural ways, while also often serving multiple purposes at the same time. This is not revolutionary, of course, but in the current day and age of isekai anime in particular, I cannot talk about it without being positive. As the latter parts of Season 1 come along, we change settings quite drastically, and while this mid-season change of scenery took me off guard somewhat, it did not dampen the enjoyment of the story at all. Yes, we do say goodbye to his family for the rest of the season, and we introduce new characters to familiarize ourselves with instead. Still, the anime does give us plenty of time to connect fairly well with the main characters in this new setting also. While discussing this, it is also fair to mention that while the main set of characters the anime focuses on do feel decently fleshed out and likable, many of the side characters do not really get the time of day. They can end up feeling rather basic or one-dimensional. Of course, this is not surprising. You only have so much time in a single season, but they could probably have done a good bit more with a chunk of the side characters if they really wanted to. Alan, though, as a main character, turned out to be quite likable and enjoyable for me, and I did enjoy seeing him develop, grow, and handle new challenges in this new isekai world with his, well, hell mode, grind, and flair. He is portrayed as very intelligent, calculating, and quick-witted, and I rarely felt he made any dumb mistakes or behaved in any way that contradicted his character. And in an isekai anime, in the year 2026, something simple like that is far from universally true. If you are enjoying the review so far, do please remember to like and subscribe as always as well, as it greatly helps out the channel, so thank you kindly. With many of the positives out of the way though, we do need to talk about the massive, gaping CGI elephant in the room. Yes, there is no sugarcoating it, the animation quality is low, especially the CGI. and especially the fight scenes. It's not uncommon for isekai shows to have modest budgets, but this one seems to really have been struggling with the limited resources it was given. This is only further worsened by the fact that this anime was produced by a studio with a limited track record, and I can only imagine a big lack of high-quality animation staff as well. These things sadly impact the anime in a big way, and it is glaringly obvious in fights or any active scenes how much of a struggle they had getting anything even half decent looking onto the screen. This inevitably causes problems, one of the biggest being how jarring it can look and feel, and how often it can break your immersion and enjoyment of the show as a whole. On top of this, you also lose out on a lot of narrative potential by using the fights as vehicles to communicate something to the viewer. In Hell Mode, we are rather stuck with the main character explaining what is going down instead of being shown it, which lessens the impact and potential to simply show and not tell. These added explanations, while necessary given the limitations of this specific anime, do impact the enjoyment and quality of the experience, which is something you always hate to see. Another important point to mention here is how little action this isekai power fantasy anime really gets throughout Season 1. There are a few fights, and as previously mentioned, they are far from animated or well shown off. In many other anime genres, this is more forgivable, but considering isekai and power fantasy anime in general have a good chunk of their audience tuned in specifically for the over-the-top fights and spectacle, this hits even harder as a negative than it otherwise would. With all that being said though, the narrative portions of this anime do make up for the lack of animation and battles, and the absence of classic power fantasy spectacle as a whole. The story is not overly complex, but it is not contrived either. The narrative propels itself forward in a natural and logical way, and at no point did I really think, damn, this is ridiculous how that came to be. And believe you me, in terms of isekai anime in the current day and age, that is far from normal. By the end of Season 1, with a larger reveal of what exactly is going on behind the scenes that was hinted at throughout the season, the prologue to this story wraps up nicely and ends another chapter of Alan's life, now finally preparing him to step out into the big, bold world as a free man with a new mission and goal, and well, the coming academy arc. The experience of Season 1 of Hell Mode, though not without its bumps, did feel like an overall satisfying journey to me. I really do appreciate the pace and care they took in not rushing anything, but instead giving us this extended prologue to properly get him started in this world and keeping us on board every step of the way. Because of this, we have gotten to know him, know the characters around him, and been given the time to really connect with them, start to root for them, and be excited about seeing where the story takes them next. All in all, the season ended at a fitting place and set the stage nicely for us to jump into Season 2, ready for a brand new big adventure, which I am going to be more than happy to jump into, well, right after this review. Overall, I think this anime is a worthwhile watch if you are okay with very limited animation quality and power fantasy spectacle, as the underlying narrative is definitely good enough to slowly drag you in and hopefully get you invested in the story and characters on offer here by the end of the season. No, this anime won't win any awards for any single element, but it is very competently executed, and for an isekai, that is not too shabby in 2026, to say the least. Season 2 has just started airing, and I do plan to cover that as well moving forward, so do keep an eye out for those coming videos also. Now I open the floor to you. What did you think of Season 1 of Hell Mode, if you did watch it? Did you like it? Hate it? Or what were your thoughts on it? Do you feel I missed something in this review? Did I gloss over something? Did I forget something? Do you disagree on anything? I would love to hear all about that in the comment section down below. With all that being said though, I hope you had a good day, keep watching anime, and as always, I will see you all next time. Bye bye.